All right.
No, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Wise beyond your years.
Thank you. This is Julie.
This is Jenna.
And we are the JJTwinzz. We're actually just sisters.
So it's just a nickname.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Monday now, so we're back to regular scheduled programming. Woot woot. I know I kind of threw you for a loop this last week. But now, Jen, do you want to introduce and then I'll get into the story?
Yeah.
Housekeeping things, we'll get into some new stuff in a little bit too.
Absolutely. So today the JJTwinzz, us, are joined with Scott McGee. Scott is the founder and host of the Sisus Way podcast. He is also a police member in Santa Monica, California, and a detective beat officer and member of the SWAT team. Scott describes himself as a family man, a friend, a thinker, a guardian, and a peaceful warrior with an open mind and unconquerable soul. Hi, Scott. Welcome.
How are you doing? Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hi. So Scott oftentimes starts his podcast out with a little story. So we have a little story for you.
We do.
It's the tale of two wolves. An old Cherokee chief was teaching his grandson about life. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight and is between two wolves. One is evil. He is anger, envy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, self-doubt, and ego. The other is good. He is joy. He is peace. He is love. He is hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you and inside every other person too. The grandson thought about it for a minute, and then he asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" The old chief simply replied, "The one you feed."
Wow, that's so deep.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, getting into some things, Scott, do you want to, I'm sorry, let me get to this. Go in more depth on any part of how you would describe yourself too?
Yeah.
And which wolves do you decide to feed within yourself?
Absolutely.
Well, I have a hard time describing myself, but it's because it seems weird, like with labels or sticking people in a box. I always tell people that we're not, whatever you write on your resume, that's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You are what you've overcome, and all the hardships that you've been through in your life, and the adversity you've shown, and the lessons you've learned, and the resilience you've had has always shaped the kind of person you are.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, it's kind of something I threw on my Instagram bio that I'm a mindful warrior on a path of gratitude and service. And part of the mindful warrior part comes exactly from that story that you just shared. That we always have that internal battle, and the biggest battle that we ever face in our entire life is within. And it's your own mindset and your attitude towards things. And as things happen, whether you get to choose to accept them or resent them. You get to choose to be a warrior or a worrier. You get to choose between being a victor or a victim. These are all these little battles that go inside of us. So that's where that mindful warrior comes from. And it's also rooted to that story you just told.
Really?
I love that. That's so awesome. No, and I feel like too, that story, I feel like the biggest piece, it's really the battle between, the ego and the soul, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so we are big fans of your teachings, and we really just want to thank you for your time and being here. And we really want to share you with our listeners.
We really do, yeah.
We have we've kind of seen you through Instagram, honestly, and everything you post is so deep and beautiful, and it resonates with us, and that's kind of why we want our listeners to hear from you, and we want to expose them to you and your wonderful teaching. So we just want to thank you for your time, because it's appreciated.
We have a lot of respect for what you do.
Oh,
who you are as a
thank
person.
you guys.
Yeah.
So will you mind telling us, what does the Sisus Way mean, and then how did you come about that title?
Yeah.
Well, for a long time in life, um, especially I grew up as an athlete and playing sports and playing football and then eventually, in law enforcement, there's this culture there that has always taught us to have a stiff upper lip and not to show emotions, not cry, not to share feelings. And then I went through some pretty painful stuff. My dad had cancer, um, and when he started to get really sick, and didn't look like he was going to make it, my wife was pregnant with our first son, and that was his first grandson. And there was a moment where I had to accept the reality that he probably wasn't going to make it and that he was not going to be around for his grandson's life. And so I asked him to write to him, and I told my dad that when my son was old enough that I would share that information with him, that what he wrote. Mm-hmm. Well, fast forward, when my son's born, and then I'm out and about, like about a week later, and my mom calls, and she was calling. She was calling not to tell my dad, not to tell me that my dad had died, but that she was calling to apologize to me that he did not finish writing. So my dad was writing to his grandson on an iPad, and about 2 paragraphs in, he started coughing up blood and died. Coughed up blood all over the iPad and died. And then I read the information that he was writing, and it was information I never knew about him, and it was lessons that I'd never heard him say, because he was not in person. He wasn't very emotional on the outside. He's a very stoic, tough guy, but a very thoughtful and deep writer. Mm-hmm. So that was one lesson in how life is temporary. And obviously through work, I see how quickly it can go away. And initially I started cracking open myself and writing and sharing a lot more, because of the idea that this can go away. And I initially wanted to leave lessons and leave little, notes of inspiration for my kids in case I was not around one day to tell them myself. And that's kind of where it got started. So during this, my dad's battle with cancer, my mom's battle with cancer, my aunt's battle, the ups and downs in life, my a lot of complications in pregnancy with my second kid and him not almost making it. The concept of Sisu really resonated with me, and there really isn't a word in English that translates well enough into the thought and the message and feeling that I was having. So Sisu is a Finnish word, and the closest thing in English is probably grit or perseverance, but it would take a few pages in English to actually write out. But in a nutshell, it's like strength and determination in the face of adversity. It's persistence, it's hope, it's grit, it's having an unbeatable mindset, full of courage and tenacity, resilience, willpower. Mm-hmm. It's the triumph of the human spirit and having an unconquerable soul. And all of us face battles in life. Whether it's an actual battle, it could be a battle in cancer, it could be a battle against a marathon, it could be battle, in a workout, a battle at work, a battle with our inner demons. Boy, there is something in those battles that you see the best parts of human behavior. You see the resilience, you see the communication, you see people coming together. They make documentaries on this and movies on it. Mm-hmm. I mean, take Rocky, for example. Rocky has Sisu. Absolutely. And so that seemed like a pretty good way to go about life. So hence the Sisu Way.
I love it.
We love it, yeah.
Would you describe yourself, this is not a question though,
yeah.
As someone who's kind of had that trait all within you your whole life? It's like a little fire in the belly kind of thing. Do you feel like you've always had that little fire, and then like a pilot light, and then you just ignited it? Or do you feel like it's something that grew through the adversity?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a everyone's path is a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I think the opportunity is always there. I think everything is an opportunity. It's one of my philosophies in life. But there were certainly many moments of my life where I was lacking the resilience that I may have right now. And there are ebbs and flows of life. There's ups and downs. There's times where I've fallen off the path, and I've had to jump in my own writings before to help myself recover. So, but to go back, I think sports, like as a kid, sports was a great way to learn resilience, to keep going when you're tired, to get up and train when you don't want to get up and work hard for your teammates. So I think that developed probably early on, but it's not something that you have and then that's it. It's something you continuously have to make some progress and work at.
How would you say you define a stoic guardian, and do you feel like your dad kind of is one for you?
Yeah, but I didn't realize that until I'm still realizing that now.
It takes time.
Um, I didn't realize it, like how important. Like my dad was always my coach growing up. He was my baseball coach. He was my football coach. He was always a great mentor to a lot of kids. He worked on our football program for my high school. He started coaching softball because my sister is playing softball and she's 4 years younger than me. And so I don't know if he knew it or not, but he was giving me a pretty awesome blueprint. And now, as far as the guardian part, I definitely feel that it's there, because now as a coach myself for my kids and for the youth, I kind of feel like I'm able to, like my dad's able to watch my son through my eyes.
Oh,
if that makes any sense to you guys.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. That is
yes.
very beautiful. I love that.
Absolutely.
So can you share with us to the character mile and where you thought about that, or the origins of the character mile, and what it is to our listeners too?
Well, in a nutshell, on its surface level, you complete 1 mile a day for the month of December. And that seems pretty simple on the surface level. But I tell people it's not about the mile at all. It started off like run the mile, but it's more about understanding and appreciating that movement is a gift. And so there's tons of lessons within that mile, and there's challenges within the challenge. So when it might start off like doing a mile every day. And someone that hasn't been running or exercising, that could be a challenge for them. But the challenge it's not the actual mile. It's the commitment to doing it and to follow through every day. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was just
there was like a little glitch, but but don't worry, keep going.
So it's about getting outside, and so some of the challenges are being aware of your senses. When you go complete your mile, pay attention to the plants and the trees on your street. You'll always see something you haven't noticed before. There's one of the days you have to pick something heavy, whatever speaks to you, and carry it with you. And the lesson there is we all carry heavy stuff in life, but you can choose to put it down. And that's kind of a lesson to a kettlebell or whatever someone wants to carry. There's some of the miles you have to go with a family member, someone that hasn't completed it yet. So, or a group of people. And the trick there is you get people walking around in a little pack, moving about, going from A to B, talking without their cell phones. Because when you're moving around or you're jogging or you're walking fast, it's hard to be on your phone and get distracted.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to connect with each other.
Absolutely.
There's little challenges built in with this whole thing. And then people get connected. And so I initially started that thing thinking that there was going to be like maybe 6 or 7 people that would join me. And the first year ended up being 14 different countries.
Holy cow.
Wow. That's huge.
I know, it blew my mind, like absolutely blew my mind. But I did my best to connect with everyone and share everyone's stories, via Instagram, because there was people, from France, the UK, Canada, South Africa, and Mexico, and the United States, Finland, and Norway, Austria. All these people are doing the same challenge together, and I just thought that was super cool to be able to connect. Social media isn't always all that bad,
Yeah.
able to connect with people in different ways.
Mm-hmm. It's given us an
But
opportunity
yeah,
tonight.
Oh yes, absolutely.
that's it. I mean, that's the character mile in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And I picked December because it's cold,
Mm-hmm.
and the weather shouldn't control, and that's an external thing that's outside your control, and anything external shouldn't stop you from achieving your goals. 2, family is usually in town and not working, so people can get together and do it. Also, people tend to not eat that, super healthy at that time of the year.
Oh yeah.
Also, I wanted people, yeah, right. And I wanted people to not wait till New Year's to have some renewed sense in their, health and well-being. So I started in December.
Beautiful.
Great. I love that. Yeah, we're in Minnesota, so weather's an easy
Yeah,
out
weather
for that
actually
one.
does very much impact things. But yeah.
There's some people though that have gone out. There's people in Canada with negative degrees out there making it work in snowshoes.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I've had some people measure their house, whatever they could do within their
Their little
large
space.
living room or house, and they would just.
Oh my gosh.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Dedication. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
But that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It's not about the mile.
Right. Yeah. So what has surprised you the most within your journey of the Sisus Way?
Well, one, I've gotten some amazing, amazing human beings that have agreed to come on my podcast. And not only agreed to that, but they've come to my house to do so. I've had some of the world's most renowned running coaches to breath coaches. I've had Olympians. I've had, Jen Wieters from The Biggest Loser. So I guess in a way it's not a complete surprise because all of us, the struggle is universal, but our stories are unique. Mm-hmm. And when you find that shared humanity, that's such a deep connection. But I guess that's been super cool for me. The people that have been willingly gracious enough and offering to spend time with me.
Absolutely.
Well,
and I relate to that for sure.
Yes, no, we can. And I'd love to elaborate that question too, and just expand it a little bit. What has surprised you the most through developing the Sisus Way mindset?
Oh.
Even before
vulnerability.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Vulnerability is a big part. It takes a lot of strength to decide to fight something, right? To provide resistance and to move forward through the grind. It takes strength to decide to fight in an argument. It takes strength to fight in, I don't know, again, against cancer. That takes a ton of strength. Mm-hmm. We all know these little battles that we choose to fight, but it also takes strength to know when not to.
Yeah.
So true.
And there's that strength of even fighting against yourself, fighting against your own honesty, fighting against your own actual feelings and portraying something that you're not. So allowing yourself to be you, allowing forgiveness to come into your life, allowing humility to be there, and understanding that vulnerability is strength and it's not a weakness.
Absolutely. I think I think women have tapped into that really well with the Brene Brown movement and all of that kind of stuff.
I love Brene Brown.
I just wish
Mm-hmm.
It were more openly accepted for men too. And I think it's getting there. And I think
yes, no, it is getting there. I think that for sure.
Men, knowing that their strength is sharing those vulnerable parts of themselves can really tap into a lot.
It really can.
Well, for sure, the feelings are there.
Mm-hmm.
But then we wear this mask that we think we have to wear because of the big culture that's been lying to us. So we're taught we're supposed to be a certain way.
Society, yeah.
But that's, to me, that's almost like I've learned that's a weakness. I mean, there's moments for it, right? But pretending to be something you're not, or denying a feeling you're having, that's not strong.
No, it's almost like choosing the ego over the soul in that moment.
Well, and two, it might be an uncomfortable feeling at that time, but you don't get the joys of getting through, it's just like a hard workout or something. If you don't go through that pain, you don't reap the rewards.
Well, and
then you're just stuck in the stagnant path.
Yes. And there's a beauty in accepting the uncomfortable too.
And leaning in.
Yes.
It is what art is.
Well, that's the thing. I think being honest is so much easier. I've learned, and that's something surprising. Like, it's still something I'm constantly working on. Being honest and not necessarily. And this is some of the tricky part. Is what other people feel and do is none of our business.
Yeah.
So understanding that agreement, right? We have to agree that what other people feel and do and think, that's up to them. But sometimes being fully honest can still get a reaction out of someone that you might not want. You have to be able to, you have to be able to deliver information at a level that they're ready to accept.
Oh,
yes.
Well said.
Wow. Yeah. Describe your connection that you have with strength that you have developed and curated.
Well, I'll tell you one quick story.
Oh, please. Yes.
The strength comes in a lot of different ways. You have emotional strength, physical strength, mental strength, strength in relationships, strength in relationships with yourself. But a quick lesson here that kind of bumped me on my path was when I was in college, I tore my hamstring pretty good. And I could no longer run. I couldn't even lift up my leg to go upstairs. I'd like grab my pant leg to lift my leg up. And so I had to miss a year of sports. At the time I was playing football. And I lived with a bunch of football players, and that was my identity. And there was a huge crack there because it was during this, like, I couldn't travel with my buddies. I was home alone. If I wasn't, I took, school seriously, for sure. And so that gave me an opportunity to do that a little bit better. But if I wasn't playing football, it was a weird crack where I didn't really know who I was. And so I went through this I got sunk down into like a poor me. I was a victim. I started drinking a bunch of Miller High Lifes at the time, the champagne of beers. And I started gaining weight, like let my hair get all weird and long. And I started reading some books. My dad gave me this one book to read, and it just completely turned me around and made me look at that as an opportunity to come back fitter, faster, stronger than I ever was before. But now, like, I had a wake-up call that it was completely up to me. Before that, I was blaming the trainers for not getting me stronger prior, strength coach for not helping me build up my hamstrings. The blame was always outside of me. And that helped me realize that it's everything in my life, my complete reality is 100% up to me. And that put me in the driver's seat of my life. And so I started training hard. That's when I started figuring out that I should probably drink more water. That I figured out that, cheeseburgers from McDonald's weren't the most healthy thing in the world. I learned about nutrition, learned about mobility, and I started working hard. And I took ownership of my life, ownership of my circumstances. Nobody else was coming to save me. And I worked my butt off that way. And that empowered me. And that little lesson is really the biggest lesson in strength, is that you are in control of your own reality.
liberating.
Absolutely.
whatever that is.
What book was it that you read?
It was written by Pat Croce, who he was an athletic trainer. I don't remember the exact title because he wrote several more. I'm sure people could look it up. He was an athletic trainer for like the 76ers and some NHL teams. He started a training business, ended up buying part ownership of some professional teams. But he had a rags to riches story, and in his book, he got in a motorcycle accident and went through some struggles as well. In fact, at that time, I started going to AA meetings for injured athletes. I forgot about that part.
What are
But
those like?
it was great. What's that?
What are those meetings like?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, like, you think about even NFL players or NBA players or college athletes or whatever people's identity is, especially if it's physically based, if you get injured and you can no longer do the thing that your identity is attached to, there's a little bit of a break in that person and how they feel about themselves and what their place is in their world. So at the time, like, I can't play football, so who am I?
Well, I think
And the same thing for basketball players, for soccer players. And so there's this weird sort of sunken like depression that and disconnection and lack of purpose that people felt. And so we just got together and talked about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Do you feel like that's what Tom Brady's going through?
Sports psychology. That's like that's a big industry.
Oh yeah, totally. Do you feel like that's what Tom Brady's going through when he gets back out of retirement?
I think Tom Brady spent a few weeks with all his kids, and he's like, I'm going back to work.
True.
It's a plausible theory. Yeah.
No, but like Tom Brady though, he's if you have not read the book The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's Tom Brady's favorite book, and once you read it, you'll understand Tom Brady a little bit more. And every time he speaks, it's basically a presentation of the Four Agreements without anyone really knowing it.
Oh wow. Definitely.
It's his and Giselle's favorite book. Same thing with like Oprah. Oprah gives it to all her students at her school. It's a really famous book. Highly recommend it.
So you speak a lot about books, and I just what is your favorite book, would you say? Or do you have like a top three?
I'll just, the Four Agreements for sure. The Art of Living. Those two books are one is like
Scott, we might have you pause for a second. There's a connection problem.
We're back to it.
So
okay.
After the Art of Living.
Yeah, keep going with the book rundown.
Well, it's hard for me to pinpoint the third because it rotates.
Okay.
Oh, rotating third. Love it.
So I like the Book of Awakening is good. The this is where I'm going to look at my bookshelf here because I have a book like I like the Code of the Samurai.
Yeah, you can take a minute.
No, I'm just looking like the Code of the Samurai, Four Agreements, The Spirit of Zen. The Alan Watts book is great. Man's Search for Meaning. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
I've heard
Is any of that, you guys able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you ever read The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer?
Yeah, we're big fans of The Untethered Soul.
Not yet.
It's really good. And honestly, you know how I mentioned we found you via Instagram. Our mom, she is a big fan of The Untethered Soul, and there was an Instagram account called The Untethered Daily. And it kind of stopped. She was like, there was a point. She's like, I'm worried about, the Untethered Daily. They haven't posted since September. I hope everything's okay. But she sent us your Instagram and was like, it's like the Untethered Daily. And it reminds her a lot of the Untethered Soul. So I highly recommend. Michael Singer is incredible. So that's on your
awesome.
docket.
Thank you. I'll check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you define grit?
Well, there is a term here for uh, like moving towards your goal, moving through resilience towards your goal, regardless of what that, resistance, moving through resistance towards your goal.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of what that resistance is, it doesn't stop you from moving forward towards your goal. But the resilience part of grit, I know there's a word out there, so maybe one of your listeners can help me out here. But something that's resilient, like if you start here and you get knocked through a struggle, you get knocked back, and resilience is about responding back to that position that you were at.
Mm-hmm.
But I think through grit that you respond, and so you get knocked back, but you actually grow through it.
Yeah.
You never come back to that same position that you were in because you are different now.
Wow.
It's almost like if you put if you stick your foot in a river and then you lift up and you put your foot back in that river, it's a different river at that point. You're touching like different water, could be a different temperature, a different current. So I think grit, you grow through resistance.
Well said.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. How do you feel like your strength and your grit relate to how you have raised your kids?
Well, it's been very hard for sure. Parenting is a tremendously rewarding experience, but it's also very difficult. And especially if you have two little boys at home, if anyone's listening and they happen to have two young boys, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like always living in WWE.
We have 3 nephews.
Yes, we have 3 nephews. The oldest one is 6. So
the youngest one is starting to walk.
Yeah, we totally know. Yeah.
But
so you get it.
Yeah.
But you guys only visit, right? You know, you're only there for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
I guess now going back to the lessons about, let's just say how your parents, told you couldn't sing. But it takes strength to be able to allow your kids a certain amount of space that they feel comfortable in failure. And that's a very important tool. It's a very important leadership tool. And it's something from the book, Grit. It's actually called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And really it's about having a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. But in a nutshell is to be able to create space for someone to feel comfortable failing. Because if they have a good support system, it helps them focus not on the pain, but on the lesson. If you focus on the lesson, you're constantly growing. But if you point out and you're always talking about the pain, then you continue to suffer. And if you go down that path, then you're constantly a victim. If you go down the path of always learning and growing, then that's where you become gritty and a resilient human being. So as a parent, making sure that's always there so that, my boys grow into men that become the type of people I know they can be. I want them to grow up and one day tell me, Dad, I can deal with anything life throws at me and I'm happy.
Amazing.
Love it. That resilience is so key.
And I think kids look at their parents too. And not to bring it to like a celebrity level, but Kris Jenner, they talk about how she always saw more for her kids than they saw for themselves. And that's what led her to be a good like manager, momager. And I think as a parent, that's a good point too, to look at, you see more for your kids sometimes than they see for themselves, and to create that space for them to grow into that what you see they're capable of, because you've been through a lot more in life. You know a lot more that there is to know than they might be able to too. And sometimes they'll exceed your expectations as well.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yep. But that's also it gotta be tough not to put our kids in a box either. Make sure that they want to do what they want to do and support what that is.
Yeah.
And just like in anything, like parenting is a form of leadership, and how do you get someone to see beyond what they think they already know?
Yeah. No, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and so that actually means a lot to me. I feel like I watch my kids every day. I watch their growth lead them. And that's my only goal as a teacher, is to let their growth lead them and guide them through that resilience process. And I let them know all the time, you are not who you were an hour ago. Look at how much you've learned since then. You're a different person you were 10 minutes ago. You're not who you were yesterday. And implanting them with that at such a young age, I mean, at any age, it helps to form that resilient identity and that process and that skill set. So that, when they are really confronted with adversity, they can, achieve what they want. Yes. Yeah.
And it's, if you tell them that.
That's such a gift.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is such a gift that you are providing to your students.
Thank you.
Teaching them that there really isn't failure.
Yeah.
You either win or you learn.
Absolutely.
And constantly learning. It's something that I do with my kids in baseball. Baseball is the thing, but it's not really I'm more of trying to lead young men than really teach them how to hit a curveball.
Absolutely.
But I always ask them, what did you learn? After every practice, after every dropped ball or whatever, quote unquote mistake they made, I always ask, hey, what'd you learn? What'd you learn? What'd you learn? And it's awesome. I was like, that's awesome. You just learned. Keep your feet in the box. That's awesome. Or you learned, hey, look, you swung the bat hard. That was awesome. What did you learn? And with that kind of mindset, then you start developing these little unconquerable souls. You start developing these little mindful warriors that are going to go forward and lead and start to be empowered in their own life.
Absolutely.
So speaking of the warrior mentality, will you share with us your sword?
Yeah.
Or share your sword with us.
You want to see it? Is that what you're saying?
Or what?
The sword?
The sword to you, the meaning.
Right.
Oh, you mean this sword?
Yeah.
Yes.
I will pull the swords over here out if you guys want to see them. I have on display. Well, okay. I have one of the swords I have. It's off camera here, and it's printed on my shirt right now. Is Excalibur. And growing up, I always liked the Knights of the Round Table and the stories of King Arthur. And the story goes that the beholder of Excalibur can't be defeated in battle. And to me, I didn't really take that as literally. That goes to mindset. Having the mindset that you can't be defeated. You might lose, you might fail sometimes, but you're not defeated because you keep growing, you keep changing, you keep learning, and you keep coming back. So, but the sword also, so on my shirt here is the drawing of Excalibur and is wrapped with the olive branch around it. And as you guys know, the olive branch is, a symbol of peace, right? And so that represents, it goes, like I said earlier, it takes strength to wield a sword and choose to lift it up in battle, but it also takes strength to know when not to.
Absolutely.
And so that's what that symbol represents.
Love it.
So where do you feel like you find, peace?
In stillness.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Oh, I'd say, well, I can elaborate on that. That's the simplest thing. I find it in a leaf. I can find it in looking at the amazing colors of flowers. I find it in noticing how the trees are dancing in the wind. I find it in watching, a dad play catch with their son. There are absolutely mind-blowing miracles all around us all the time.
All the time.
Even in all of our senses. The ability to hear something. You can hear really awesome sounds. Listening to music is awesome. If you can see color, you can go out in nature and see nature's amazing canvas. If you have the health to walk. If you can stand up straight and you have legs and you can walk, like just being able to go for a walk is a gift. I've lost that ability before from injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So all the miracles are all around us. And so tapping into them to me is like, it helps me recalibrate and center myself.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
So, and this is at a different level. What made you want to go into the law enforcement?
Yeah.
I don't have anybody in my family in law enforcement. So I was not exposed to it. And in college, I started looking around. I considered doing sports psychology. I considered being a chiropractor. I considered like FBI, US Marshals. I don't know, probably because I saw some cool, Tommy Lee Jones, Wesley Snipes movie or something.
For sure. Yeah.
But I wasn't sure. So after college, I started a training company and I started group training, essentially like life coach, personal trainer type stuff. And which I really love doing. And I still do stuff like that because I really like helping people become the best versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I miss being part of a team. I miss being like in an environment where I wasn't always in the same location. I miss being part of something where there were so many different skills to work on. Like you have, where fitness was important,
Mm-hmm.
where common sense was important. And I don't know, I wanted to be like a professional good guy. And once that kind of hit me that law enforcement was a path for that, it was a no-brainer.
Awesome. And so I want to use that to segue into my next one. How would you explain, you mentioned you find your peace in stillness, and to me it kind of resonated with something similar to like mindfulness, but how would you tell someone to find their peace when they cannot relate to that? Like out in the field, you might come across a lot of different kinds of people, mm-hmm. and there might be some people that might not be able to relate to that or even kind of comprehend that. Like, how would you describe to someone how to find that?
Yeah.
Well, in order to regulate our emotions, you have to stabilize your attention. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. The simplest way is through your breath. If we were to get someone to even breathe through your nose, that's already shifting out of a fight or flight sympathetic state into a parasympathetic state, which is the more of the rest, relaxed state. Like you guys right now are in a parasympathetic state. Mm-hmm. But that is like biologically hardwired through your bodies and through your nervous system. And so understanding how that works and understanding your vagus nerve, if you guys are curious, look it up, VAGUS. Mm-hmm. It's partially why singing, it's a big nerve that goes down your whole torso, goes up and down. It's where gut feeling comes from. It's gigantic. You guys have probably seen diagrams of it, but didn't know what it was. When that thing gets stimulated, it helps you downshift. And so breathing through your nose is a way to get the body to downshift. So if I'm talking to someone, I might tell them to, hey, just relax, look at me, and just focus on breathing through your nose. But what I'm doing is I'm controlling their attention. I'm stabilizing their attention, having them focus on their breathing, and that helps them regulate their emotions. The second step to that is have them elongate their exhale. Mm-hmm. So think about doing a 1-part inhale to a 2-part exhale. The 2-part exhale, elongating, keeping that exhale longer, downshifts you biologically, which affects how you think and how you behave. So if someone isn't open to it, like I mentioned earlier, you can only deliver something that they're at a level that they're ready to accept. But there are ways of tricking judgment.
Yeah. I'm sure you've learned about those.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really important. So I'm a nurse, so I'm well aware of all of the breathing, and oxygenation actually is huge in calming a person down, because then you're adequately displacing that levelness amongst the body too. And so that 1-part inhale, 2-part exhale is huge.
Absolutely.
And that's the part, like when people say take a deep breath, I'm generally like, well, am I trying to bring myself up? Because if I was, then I take a deep. And first of all, what does a deep breath mean? If I were to separate you guys and ask you to actually define what a deep breath meant, it'd probably be different. Like, does that mean do I have to fully fill my lungs up? And then do I hold? Do I breathe in fast? Do I breathe in slow? Do I go through my mouth? Do I go through my nose? There's so many different variations to what a deep breath is. But it's the exhale that's the relaxing part. It's the exhale that downshifts you. The inhale is the upper. It's what happens. Like if you scare somebody, what do? They take a deep inhale.
The gasp.
The inhale is the fight or flight. It's actually, when you breathe in, your heart rate speeds up. When you exhale, your heart rate slows down. It's heart rate variability.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Okay. How do you feel like resilience affects the soul? I know that we talked a little bit about this, but I'd love, to get your take of, how it not only affects like motivation, but our souls.
Well, I think it goes back to that thing, because resilience, it means you're kind of providing resistance against something, right? And sometimes resistance isn't really necessarily the path to inner peace. I would say acceptance is. Acceptance of what is. And then being rooted in awe. And awe, like awe of life, awe of your vision, awe of sounds.
Beautiful.
I love it. And I think that's
But
huge.
the soul also, the soul also needs like purpose, right? That's how we connect, and that's always good food for the soul. So sometimes that, let's just say going on a hike, you got to have some resilience to go on a hike and fight through weather, fight through insects. And that is also good food for the soul. Well, depending on the person.
Absolutely.
Definitely depending on the person. Acceptance, though, is huge, because if you don't accept where you are, how do you move forward, kind of thing, too. What inspires you in lieu of food for the soul?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and separate, because my identity has changed now. And the most important one I wear is dad. And I want to be around as long as I can for my kids and for my grandkids. So taking care of myself is definitely a big motivator for that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I lost my dad. He was only 64 years old, which is still a young man in some sense. So I can control, to some extent, obviously bearing some catastrophe or something random that happens, how long and what quality of life I have to be around for my family. So that is inspiring as well.
Huge.
So what do you feel like you do like daily to put yourself in kind of that right mindset?
Definitely the breath work, for sure. Breath work above all is probably the quickest way that centers me. I'll throw this out on the podcast too. I hum a lot.
Oh.
And a lot of people don't hear it, but on my exhales I will hum, because that deep vibration is stimulating my vagus nerve, and that really helps me relax. Also having cues to remember to relax my jaw, to relax my temples, my scalp, and my shoulders, and then do a quick body scan. And you can find where the tension spots are pretty quickly and understand and how that affects, like, your body's tight, your mind's and your thoughts and your attitude changes.
Yeah.
So taking care of those things, quick body scan, shake out my sillies.
Absolutely.
Right. And then the key here is you do all this stuff and relax all these muscles, and then to throw a nice little soft smile into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we'll do impromptu dance parties all the
We
time.
will, yeah.
They're pretty fun.
Yep.
Great way to just let it loose.
Yes.
Do you feel like you'll write a book?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
have
I plan on actually already starting it.
Oh.
Can you give us some teasers?
I'm going to, but what ended up happening, COVID happened, and my kids were home 24 hours a day. And so on top of work and having kids home 24 hours a day, there wasn't really wasn't necessarily much me time.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to get into a nice little cognitive state to really articulate all these pieces and the way I want to do it. But I plan on writing a book similar to how I write on Instagram.
Yeah.
There is some themes and acts and chapters and stuff that I have. It's actually built into a lot of the stuff I put on Instagram are my book notes.
Oh.
And
Wow.
so I want to write a book like that, like a philosophy book.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. I don't know if it would be like a self-help or philosophy book or
The Sisus Way.
I don't know. Doesn't really matter what someone wants to label it. But I also want to write a wellness book for law enforcement.
Oh.
There's a huge need for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well,
We have just a little bit. We have 2 other kind of segment-y
Yes.
type questions.
we do.
Can I take a quick bathroom break? Is that too much to ask? Do you guys
Go ahead, of course.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be too distracted.
So, I can tell you a little bit about the segments that we're gonna do. Since this will probably be like a break in the episode. So what we will do is we're gonna talk like a little bit of like DMs and like personal things. So obviously Julie and I, are single, and a lot of our listeners and viewers are, single millennials, half of them are women, half of them are men. And we would love to know, how you navigated like your wife in the early stages and the friend zone and, I don't know if you would call it like the dating, what would you call it, Mary? Like forecast we're in right now? I don't know. But yeah, and so we're going to like touch on a little bit of that and how like, strength, resilience, and emotional intelligence all kind of ties into that.
Cool.
We're excited to get your take on it. Oh, and
I'm probably gonna have more questions than answers.
That's fine. And then after that, we will ask you some prost questions. Prost questions reveal a little bit about somebody's character. And so it'll give, kind of the listeners and viewers a little bit more of an in-depth look too.
Cool.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. We're ready to roll. Are we ready to do a little personal deep dive?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So, Scott, kind of give us a little bit of a background on how you came about, dating your wife and navigating that whole process.
Yeah.
Well, I was just out of a 3-year long relationship that ended kind of abruptly and surprising to me. And at that time, it put me into like this. I was like mad at women. I was like, forget this.
Mm-hmm.
I had like a chip on my shoulder. And then some time passed, and I was at the gym. Obviously working on my tries, and I totally meant that as a joke because you guys cannot see my triceps when I don't train triceps ever. But I saw a lady there, and she was wearing like the same thing I had on. It's embarrassing to say now, but I was at the gym with the tank top on and a certain pair of pants and a hat, and it was literally like a female version of me in the same clothes, but more Lulu styled.
Mm-hmm.
And just in passing, I said, "Oh, hey, look, must be the female version of me," as a joke, and then just walked away because I was still in my I'm angry at all women mode right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just some time passed, and we kept talking, and then found out she lived a block away from me, and so somehow or another we ended up like meeting up when she was walking her dog and talking, and that kind of lasted for probably like 9 months. I got friend zoned hard. I've been like at that time. This is a long time ago now, but I wrote a letter expressing like my feelings, like, and I thought it was totally going to be land, and she was going to be awesome, and we were going to like, just dance off into the sunset together. And she shut me down really hard.
Oh my God.
So, but I was resilient and I was gritty and I had an unconquerable soul. And I didn't believe her. I believed in it so much that even though she said no, I didn't believe her. I just thought she didn't realize it yet. So I was patient. And then eventually, I caught her slipping, and then I tricked her, and I still remind her to this day how she friend zoned me really hard, and I was right. But I skipped like the Match.com stuff and the online dating and sliding into the DMs and all the stuff that is available now. And I still say I'm kind of bummed because I met my wife too soon. And what I told her, because I got to miss all that. Actually, I missed being a single police officer in Southern California.
Yeah, that's probably
because there's always like interesting opportunities with that.
Sure.
But I tell people I'm like an indoor cat that I was looking outside the window at all my buddies, the street cats, having fun in the wild and doing their thing. Mm-hmm. But there's still this opportunity, like the DMs, that kind of stuff. I'm sure still happens, and there's still moments of stuff out and about. But yeah, I guess you're gonna have to ask me more specific questions directly about certain things.
Well, what do you mean you tricked her?
Yeah, we'd like to know more about that.
Well, I didn't give up, and I wasn't too pushy, and so I tricked her by going on a date with somebody else.
Oh. Okay. And then she got jealous.
And
or did she just realize within herself?
Kind of showed her what she was missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, and then she got like mad about it. And so next thing you know, we were on some stairs, like under the stars talking about it. And then that's when we had our first kiss. And then that was really all she wrote. So that's the man I tricked her. Because the girl, it was actually a double date. I had no interest.
Yeah.
None. But I went. That's what I mean. I used it to trick her into showing her how she felt.
Good move.
Wow.
Honestly.
I love the strategy in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What advice would you give like listeners in regards to love and dating?
Yes.
Well, nowadays, I don't know if you guys you guys are single, yes?
Yeah.
Single as a Pringle.
So I as I was saying before, like I have more questions than answers here. But how difficult is it, or was it at least through COVID?
It's weird.
Yeah, it's been a really weird time, and Jen and I talk about it a lot amongst each other. It's almost like you are robbed of time just because you don't have that innocence of being out in the wild, and everything is more virtual, but yet everyone's more guarded, so you're not just gonna, kind of go about that unprecedented in these unprecedented times,
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Like you're not, yeah.
I feel like with the shutdown, it's like with the shutdowns, it's like you lost time, but at the same time,
I think it's made it different in good and bad ways.
Right.
Like you're more comfortable with yourself, which has led people to like sometimes have a healthier self-esteem. But in another sense, people have developed different coping mechanisms, and become comfortable being alone. So they're not seeking. I think people seek that human engagement much less. In my personal experience, I feel like
I agree,
and we're those kinds of people who definitely prefer that we're extroverted a little bit there.
Yes,
that human connection is what keeps us a universe afloat.
And let me tell you, I can definitely tell you are not missing anything.
Yeah,
with the online dating at all. You're not missing a thing. Don't worry.
I don't think, and that's what because I was thinking like, sliding in the DMs and all this stuff. I was like, it seems pretty easy because do people actually just come up and talk to you and ask you out anymore? Is that still a thing?
No.
I feel like women do that more than men do.
People will see you and then slide in your DMs and be like, I saw you. And it's like,
And
then
it's
why
like,
didn't you come up to me?
And that's
what
our
I always
first
say.
reaction is always like, so why didn't you say
anything?
something?
And you've
like,
already eliminated yourselves in my eyes because you're not a person who can come up to me, and that's not a partner.
And you sense like that lack in confidence a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. It's weird.
Okay, good. That's what I was going to point out for you guys. Like, pay attention because it takes courage to do that.
Yeah.
But you guys deserve courage from somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Going to like, because through texts, even the whole text thing and the DMing is just, it seems like such an easy way, and it lacks vulnerability.
Yeah, it's different. It's definitely different.
Absolutely.
You don't have the eye to eye I don't know.
Well,
maybe I'm just a dinosaur in that sense, but
no, you're very right.
Yeah, you're so right, and it's so different because you can get to know someone via talking a lot. So it's helpful in that sense as far as like if you look at COVID and like I think relationships that were strong got stronger throughout COVID, and relationships that weren't strong got, there wasn't a foundation there. Depleted is a good way to put it. And I think it's just a very different world. Like the intimacy is just different. You don't build real intimacy over the phone.
No, you definitely don't. Do you have any advice though for guys who are in the friend zone?
Yeah.
Well, let me answer that in a second. I just want to remind you guys and anyone listening that you are powerful and deserve the best from somebody.
Well, thank you.
Real talk. Yeah, thank you.
I think we're little, like, you guys are like, women are like little goddesses walking around and deserve nothing but the best and the most respect and from anybody that's approaching them. So, or anybody in a relationship. Don't take anything less for yourself. Don't become what I see a lot is people making excuses for their partner's behavior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And settling. Quote,
so,
quote.
I don't know. I think maybe you guys should be giving the advice on what to guys, fighting through the friend zone.
I mean, we typically do. I mean, we typically give like some dating advice, but we'd love to hear it from someone that like actually survived and thrived in the friend zone.
I might be the one. I don't know. I think I just had a feeling with this, and to me, this was also for the long haul. I knew it. I just knew it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it wasn't like, yes, I was friend zoned in this particular case, but I knew that this was the one and that we were going to be together for a long, long time. So it was easy for me to wait a few months to last a couple of decades, for obviously more than a couple of decades.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, I didn't look at her at that time as like somebody I just wanted to date.
And that's how you thrive in the friend zone, boys. Okay. That's the perspective. Wow. Absolutely. Love that. Okay.
What would you tell your younger self?
Yeah. Going through that process.
Or any advice.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would change anything because the mistakes helped me learn. Mm-hmm. Invest in Apple. Let's go there. I think, and I'm thinking deeply about this because I don't know if there's an absolutely perfect answer, but I think learning to forgive people that weren't even sorry.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
That's huge.
Because when we go through things, we have our own expectations are what causes us a lot of pain and suffering. The distance between expectation and what actually happens in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so those expectations also are in people and how we expect them, how we expect them to behave.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't behave that way, there's distance between our expectations and reality. But what other people do and how other people act is not up to us. But they create a distance between expectation and reality that makes us get mad, suffer, and be upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that person might be in a tremendous amount of pain themselves, and hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding that they might be in a tremendous amount of suffering, and I might have missed an opportunity to help them. But learning how to forgive people and forgive moments releases us from suffering.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's beautiful.
It is.
So on that note, should we go into the pros questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it multiple choice?
No.
B.
No. Well, I want to ask the state of mind one, even though we don't have that on here.
No, start us off with
what
it.
is your current state of mind?
Yes.
Happy.
Oh, I love that.
Wonderful.
Okay, what is the next one?
Okay. Yeah. Who do you most admire?
I'll go with my dad.
Amazing.
What trait do you most value in your friends?
Yeah.
Honesty.
Love that.
What is your greatest fear?
Regret.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I would agree. On what occasion do you lie? And this is the last one.
I couldn't hear that. What was that one?
On what occasion do you lie?
Sometimes to my kids.
Straight up. Oh, yeah.
No, we've heard that before. One of our guests would tell her kids that McDonald's wasn't open on Sundays or something. So they'd be like, oh, shoot, they're not open
Well,
today.
okay, like, here's a great example. And this is something I'm going to have to face one day.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old still believes in Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been playing up that lie.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a lie because I'm Santa Claus, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
It's societal.
So-
It's fine.
yeah, but like, so Santa Claus, he totally believes in it, and he set up his iPad to capture Santa Claus in a conspicuous way. And he was recording the Christmas tree,
Uh-huh.
and so I played a trick where I downloaded some Santa Claus walking in the house, like music clip from YouTube, and I played it behind the iPad. So it sounded like Santa was in the house, and then I was shining flashlights and everything around, and then shine the flashlight in the camera lens, so it got bright white, and then the camera turns off. And then I took a screenshot of what the video was seeing, and then through Photoshop, I digital Santa like foot walking in our living room. So he totally thinks he captured Santa Claus.
That's
on
awesome.
video in a camera and have all his pictures.
That's when you're like, why are my kids so clever that I have to go through all?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cute and it's
It's
beautiful,
so
and we're
fun.
gonna laugh about it for many years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
I love it.
I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But to answer that though, I don't like lying. Like, one of the 4 agreements from the book is be impeccable with your word. Like your words, like that's how you create meaning and symbols and feelings, and that stuff is very important to me. Even if it gets me in a lot of trouble, I'd rather be honest and get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's that quote? Always say you'd rather say sorry than ask for No, wait. Always, you'd rather ask for forgiveness than say sorry. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What is that? How does it go?
I have no idea.
Oh, well, that's ask for
Ask for
forgiveness instead of
permission.
permission.
Yes. Oh,
Right.
That's it. Okay, never mind.
Okay, so should we do a little overrated, underrated?
Yes, our last segment, we do a little overrated, underrated, or justified.
It's like a little game.
All right, first one, CrossFit. Overrated or underrated?
Ooh. Years ago, I would have said underrated. Right now, I say overrated.
Ooh,
Hot take.
interesting.
Why is that?
Well, because I think there's a line of putting your body through too much intensity all the time and understanding you have to downshift, and you don't have to go hard all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
There's moments for it, but you got to, there's longevity in slowing it down and having practice days and having mental strength days, and there's intensity days. To always think you have to like always be in pain and suffering in order to improve on a daily basis is not sustainable for long-term wellness.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Okay, our next one, body cameras.
Underrated.
Okay.
Love it.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah, and they're really helpful.
Those things they're great. I think down the line it's probably gonna get more, like they'll be in glasses.
Yeah.
Right.
They're gonna be more like there's gonna be cameras everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And for the most part, they tell the truth, and that's all you can ask for. Sometimes the perspective isn't always there. I've seen some that like a body camera is just like our own vision.
Right.
It only provides one angle,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you were to go like stand on a table and look at something, your room would look completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your vision right now of your room is one way, but if you guys both jumped up on the table and looked around, it looked different to you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So understanding it doesn't capture everything is one thing, but it's definitely it's a great tool.
Love that. Nap time.
Yeah. Nap time.
Oh, underrated. That should be an official national thing that we do.
Agreed.
Siesta.
We
Mhm.
all need to go home right after lunch and take a siesta.
All right. And that is always
Just like 22 minutes. Give me 22 minutes.
That's
Yes.
the perfect amount of time, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe 30 minutes so you have like the extra minutes to like wake up.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you need a couple minutes to like get comfortable and
Yeah.
Get
Yep.
situated.
but there's a fine line in between like overnapping.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's an actual line for sure, because if you sleep too much, then it inhibits your productivity the rest of the day and your sleep later on.
Oh,
Sleep.
I
is
think people
underrated.
underrate sleep
Yeah, I would
just in
agree.
general, like just for the restorative qualities there and how it fixes your nervous system and replenishes your brain. Your brain does a wash, an actual like wash when you sleep, and that's not something to underestimate. In fact, if you sleep less than 4 hours, that's carcinogenic. This doesn't mean you're working hard. It means you're like creating plaque and pain and
Mm-hmm.
disease within you.
Absolutely.
If you don't like have a plan and make a conscious effort for wellness, you're consenting to illness.
Oh wow, I love that.
Wow, that's powerful.
I love that. I mean, I don't love the idea. I love the phrase.
Right. Well, you've been a fabulous guest, Scott.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we're so grateful.
Well, thank you,
to have
guys.
had you.
Tell our listeners where they can find you.
Yes.
Well, I think the easiest way is at Scott McGee, and that's MCGEE, at Scott McGee. The podcast page is at the Sisu Way, and that's SISU Way, and that's the easiest way. And we're talking about DMs.
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, I'll get like someone shooting their shot in the DMs, but most of the stuff is people like some of the posts will resonate with people, and then they'll, instead of commenting on the actual post, they message me through in the DMs, and we have like what the post meant. I've had some heavy discussions and built some pretty powerful relationships through DMs with people and providing support. There's a we in wellness. So anyone that wants to chit chat or share anything, I'm always open to that.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. We love connections being made in the DMs.
We do.
We reached out to you in the DMs, so thank you.
Yes. Connections all around.
Connections all around. Stay.
Tell your mom thank you.
Yes, yes. And stay on the camera. We're going to take a picture with you.
Yes.
Oh, boy. Should I take these ear things off? Actually, I'll probably lose connection with you.
You can,
Yeah, leave them on.
Mary, will you take a picture of all of us?
Do you want me to stop recording?
Like this?
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome.
That was Scott. He was incredible. So everyone, we just really want to thank you, Scott, as we did. And then listeners, we just want to expose you to him and his wonderful teachings because he's so deep and inspirational.
We just are extremely grateful for that.
Yes.
So is it getting kind of steamy?
I think it's steamy,
I
Jenna.
know, I'm sensing some steam. Okay, do you have some hot takes?
Well,
for us?
speaking of steam, before we get too into it, we just want to share, everyone. We're wearing it. We are repping Opinion Clothing. They're Minneapolis-based clothing brand, manufactured also in Minnesota. Minnesota designed, made, and distributed. Opinion, use code JJ for 15% off, and we honestly are obsessed.
We're obsessed. This is, I think, my favorite outfit I own now. I don't know if you can see it on the phone, the top and the pants, but it's amazing.
Jenna's wearing a pink set. I'm wearing the golf polo. It's Opinion. It's super comfy. I love it. The collar is sleek. It's so comfortable. I will be wearing it golfing with my little skirt. I have a jacket I'll be linking this weekend before the episode airs, but just stay tuned.
Yes, the set I'm wearing is from the sports collection, and it's incredible. It's pink. I love it. They also have it in blue.
It's so cute. Jenna put it on, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get that. So
I'll be living in this.
when you see me in it, it's because we're so obsessed. We bought multiples of everything. So use code JJ for 15% off.
If you're not wearing Opinion clothing yet, okay, you should be.
Yep,
So,
please.
do not walk, run.
Run
to the code. Use it. Get a discount. You're welcome. Yes.
Code JJ. All right. Okay, back to our steam.
Let's do the steam, yeah. What is your steamy sports
Okay, well,
take
I'm just
for
going to
us?
start out. You probably were a good luck charm talking about the Timberwolves and their game against the
Oh
Clippers.
my gosh, was I?
Because
I am so lucky. That kind of pans out.
we won. Timberwolves are heading to the playoffs. Whoop,
Whoop,
whoop. I already am about to ask Mom and Dad to bring my old school Garnett jersey up over the Easter weekend. Because we're in the playoffs. And also I just want to shame on everyone. Just kidding, we're not spreading shame. But there were some memes making fun of Minnesota getting so excited about going to the playoffs. And it's like, excuse me.
Okay.
We just let her have our time.
Yeah, we just need our moment.
Yeah.
It was vibey in there. Everyone's happy, and let us be happy because we're supporting our team, dang it. Jeez.
Yes, we are. And we are thriving
Thriving.
at this current
As
moment
Paris
in
Hilton
time.
would say, we're sliving.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Jen.
Is it my turn now? Oh, yeah. Okay.
I literally just wanted to talk about going to the playoffs.
So Rodriguez comes full circle when he finally debuted for the Twins. This is so exciting.
Woo-woo.
Drafted as an outfielder 11 years ago, you guys.
Unreal.
The son of Hall of Famer Ivan Rodriguez was converted to pitching and had success finally with the Giants. You guys, I'm so proud.
Love it.
Like, also, it's just nice to just have success and have someone debut that is going to be successful. We need more of it.
Success begets success. If I can say it. Blah, blah, blah.
La la la.
All right. Okay. So I love this one. Kind of.
Tell
sports.
us what you love.
So Kayla Nicole, the girlfriend of Kansas City Chiefs Travis Kelce, ripped into Cam Newton. Cam Newton was a former player for the Carolina Panthers. And he made some comments about women, and she just kind of lets into him. All right. So he said, so this is her saying this about what he said. So she goes, "This man said that you need to be able to cook and know when to be quiet because that's what his mama did. Like, boy, go date your mama then." She also then elaborates in her comments, the obsession with women being able to cook is truly comical. Because it's like, because it's like if your palate is so superior, date a Michelin star chef than bozo. Pretty sure the average woman is capable of making edible food. How do you think she survived thus far? It's really a matter of can she cook? It's really not a matter of can she cook. It's more of a matter, does she want to cook for your hungry hippo at asterisk. So then, sorry, with the phrasing and stuff, my reading of the quotes is not perfect. But then Cam Newton responds, "Okay, my parents have been together for 36, 37 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. I grew up in a 3-parent household, my mom, my father, and my grandmother, and I knew what a woman was. Not a bad bitch, a woman," Newton said, adding that a bad bitch was a person who looked the part but didn't act the part. And a lot of women who are bad bitches, and I say bitches in a way not to degrade a woman, but just to go off the aesthetic of what they deem as a boss chick. A woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs. I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss bitch, I'm a this, I'm a that, no baby, but you can't cook. You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead. Newton said he didn't want to sit behind the mic and criticize women, but wanted the men to start being men.
No woman has to be less for a man to be more.
There it is.
Boys.
So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Very. Okay, so Patrick Beverly was fined. Patrick Beverly, who plays for the Wolves, the Timberwolves, was fined $30,000 by the NBA for post-game celebration language.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. What?
Yeah. Apparently there were inappropriate statements made during a media interview by him and on social media, and it was over, I believe, the Clippers game, or after, whatever. Wow. Obviously, you know, it was probably in reaction to the Clippers game. I don't know. You know what? How about let's chill? How about let's stop finding people? And this is America, damn it. Like, right? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Are we censoring now? Whatever.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
Granted, keep your language respectful. I mean, obviously, but.
Yeah. So during Tuesday night's game between the Wild and the Oilers, speaking of fines.
I love how you say Oilers.
Did I say it right?
No, it's funny.
Like,
it's cute.
Is it Minnesotan? I don't know.
What is it actually called?
The Oilers. Ryan Hartman gestured the middle finger towards Edmonton's Evander Kane, resulting in Hartman getting hit with a $4,250 fine from the league. So here's what I loved. So people have been obviously Venmoing Hartman to pay the fine, including Kane's ex-wife, Anna Kane. Anna Kane. So she has some beef with him, and so she Venmoed Hartman and goes, "Stay blessed," with a white heart emoji.
No, I love this, and this is a perfect segue into my next thing. Kirill Kaprizov actually stuck up for Ryan Hartman, and he's really, you know, sticking up for him. And Hartman says in reaction that the fine for his role was well worth it. And it's just nice to know that Kirill Kaprizov is a team player too.
I love that, especially because, you know, he's not a...
Kirill Kaprizov, sorry. I don't know if that was...
Kirill the Thrill.
Kirill Kaprizov.
Especially because he's not a U.S. native.
Absolutely. America.
America. The great. Should we pop some culture?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, where do we start? So should we just start talking about the Kardashians? When
What
can we
else are we
not?
going to talk about? Yeah.
So their show aired. I stayed up late to watch it last night. We caught some of it today. It's actually, what do you want to talk about it?
Pretty great. I think that I really like that the show is like showing a little bit more of an in-depth and more like authentic, like
I was
real.
just gonna say,
Yeah.
it feels super real, and I don't know if it's because they're producing it more so than they have been in the past, if they're greater partners with it, but it really just finally feels like more than just like a jokey show, like we're doing this for the show. It's intentional, it's there, and you feel like you're really truly a part of it. So
Absolutely.
press play on that one.
Yes. So Pam Anderson makes her Broadway debut in the play Chicago to a standing ovation.
Of course, it's Pam Anderson.
I know, right? Her opening night performance as Roxy Hart, the leading woman in the musical, drew crowds to New York. And I honestly am just so like proud of her. Like, I think she really took this on as a reaction to the Pam and Tommy special that was released without her consent, without her involvement. And I think this is just like another way that Pam Anderson is just like, hi, I'm Pam Anderson.
And I think just to tap into everything that Scott just talked about, it's like a resilient moment, I feel like.
So much resilience.
And I'm sure one day she'll look back and be like, if I did that, despite everything that I went through, it brought me to a greater me.
I think it was a way to tap into her power and her talent and, her ability to pave her own way, which I'm so proud of her. Like, how amazing.
I love Pam Anderson. I always will. She's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you mentioned censoring,
Yeah.
I'm going to use that as my segue to bring up
Segue it.
Elon Musk and the Twitter drama. Are you up to date?
I love Twitter drama. No, I
So-
have no idea.
Elon Musk. Pardon me.
You're pardoned.
So he is a shareholder in Twitter, and he wants to buy all of Twitter for $45.20 per share, valuing the company at $41.4 billion. That represents a 38% premium over the closing price on April 1. So let's get into it. So
Let's get into it.
Elon was already Twitter's biggest shareholder at an 18% premium over its closing price, blah, blah, blah. And so he offered a cash offer, saying it was his best and final offer.
Cash offer.
He goes, I invested in Twitter as I believe it is a potential to be a platform for free speech around the globe. And I believe free speech is a societal imperative for functioning democracy, he said in a letter to Twitter. However, since making my investment, which was that he's being the largest shareholder, since making my investment, I now realize that the company will neither thrive nor serve its societal imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. The letter was addressed to the chair of the Twitter board, CEO, and his final conclusion were, Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. So he's looking to buy Twitter with a cash offer and to create a platform for free speech. And that's what it's for. I love it. Of
what
course.
do we think on this? Do you think he's gonna actually like follow through and like make that
that's
a
a
real
good point.
thing? Like, or is he just trying to get more power for himself?
That's a really good point. Because, well, I don't know. Either way, it's still censoring. What would it be any different? I mean, it's still censoring and shutting people off now. And granted, like, sometimes you might not always like what people have to say, but that doesn't mean you can't shut them down in real life,
I think it'll be a win if he brings like authenticity and like what he's talking about bringing to the platform.
I mean, if he's as transparent as he says,
Right.
Then
Then it's going to be amazing.
then it will be what it was designed to be.
Absolutely. Okay. In lighter news, Mary J. Blige
I love this one.
She's our girl. She's amazing. Was revealed as Icon Award recipient ahead of the 2022 Billboard Music Awards. And I think we are just so proud. Like, how amazing of her.
Of course.
And there's only been 10 people ever that have won this award. And the award recognizes outstanding artists who've achieved excellence on the music charts and have made an undeniable mark on music itself. So it's like an award that's almost, not even like to your music, but the impact you've made on music as a whole itself.
Who else has won it? That's awesome.
And it's kind of incredible.
Love that. Congrats, Mary Jo Blige. Okay, J-Lo.
J-Lo. What's new with J-Lo?
J-Lo is getting
What's
a
new?
Netflix documentary called Halftime.
So excited.
So it already has a release date.
Is Ben Affleck in it? Like, what?
Well, I'll tell you. The film will open at the 2022 Tribeca Film Festival in June 8th. It'll hit streaming on June 14th. So Halftime will offer an intimate peek behind the curtain, revealing the grit and determination that makes Jennifer Lopez the icon she is, from her performance on screen and on stages around the world. Her Super Bowl halftime show to the recent presidential inauguration, the documentary focuses on international superstar who has inspired people for decades with her perspective, creative brilliance, and cultural contributions. So it's called Halftime, mostly dedicated to, I guess, that halftime show. Most of filming was when she was with A-Rod, so I'm not sure how much Ben Affleck will be in it.
Interesting.
So I think I'm kind of most interested to watch, find out any beauty secrets. They did not mention how she looks half of her age. That would be lovely to know. I think she has a time machine.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who needs
like,
tanning
honestly.
beds? I bet she's got a tanning bed time machine. All right. Anyway.
Yeah.
That I would love to watch it for, and to know, if A-Rod or Ben Affleck's in it. I feel like her relationship with A-Rod was like slightly private compared to her current relationship with.
Her current relationship seems to be so like outworldly public. Purposefully public. If you ask me. But I mean, that's just what I've observed.
I'm not reading into anything.
But we love J-Lo.
Just as a third party. Completely objective third party
Participant. No, we love J-Lo.
Butchered She's the Man quote, if you didn't catch that.
I did. It's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for some underrated, overrated?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it. Let's dive in.
I love your first one.
Oh, do you? Well, don't spoil it for the listeners. Deviled eggs. What do you think?
Underrated.
So underrated.
I want deviled eggs in my mouth right now. It sounds so good.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So good. So good.
What makes them so good?
I don't know. They're just really
Mom's
good.
recipe?
Mom's recipe, yeah.
Shout out.
I will
Mom.
Mom, shout
You're
out.
amazing.
I just want Mom's deviled eggs, to be honest.
And every year she makes so many. And let me tell you, it hits the spot like none other.
Inhale. Just hit
Love
inhale.
you, Mom. And I love the deviled eggs you make.
I can just taste them right now.
I know. I can smell them. Yeah. Okay.
On an eggy note, Easter egg hunts.
It's where eggy.
Eggy.
I'm
We're
gonna
just
say,
keeping it eggy.
is there a choice of way underrated? Because that's what Easter egg hunts are. They're amazing.
Oh my gosh, I love
They're
Easter
so
egg
underrated,
hunts.
and it's like, oh my gosh, they're so much fun.
Were we the only kids that made a competition of it? Not. Would we
You
still-
always won, but
Of course. It's competition.
yeah.
Just kidding.
But no, I feel like Easter egg hunts are just fun. Like they're just so fun. Like we can't wait to like on Easter get there early, go out with the kids,
Do the one gold egg.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Hashtag traditions.
Mm-hmm. And I loved it. But my favorite ones were the ones that we had to do inside because it was so cold out.
Yes.
They would get so creative with those. Okay. Your next one.
Oh yeah, it's my next. Okay.
Oh, I didn't even answer. Underrated. But
yeah. Consensus was underrated for
yeah,
sure.
of
Okay.
course.
So I don't know if it's just the overcast lately, but Starry Nights.
Underrated. 100%.
I'd have to
Nothing
agree.
beats like that.
Tell us a little bit about that.
My favorite starry nights are, well, what I love is currently where we live, we kind of live in the suburbs, and so you can see the stars really well compared to when I used to live in like uptown.
Mm-hmm.
But those starry like boat ride homes, when you just lay on the back of the boat and just stare at the stars,
Nothing better.
Nothing better. Or like if you're in a bed of a truck or something, that would be cute.
Mm-hmm.
Date night. What do you think?
Sitting outside on our Adirondacks.
Oh yeah, smoking a cigar.
Good times. Having some wine.
Twitter, Gemma. Overrated, underrated.
I would say underrated. I love Twitter.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. Bubble baths.
Underrated, of course. They're super relaxing.
I love bubble baths too. There's nothing like a bubble bath.
Of course. Handwritten cards, Jenna.
Underrated. I love handwritten cards.
So
they are
thoughtful.
so meaningful, so thoughtful, and they bring like an icing on the cake to every present or holiday. Absolutely.
Handwritten everything is so special.
Well, it's been fabulous, guys.
Thank you so much. Go to Opinion Clothing. Use code JJ for 15% off. If you're doing any betting, do it on Better Edge. And use code 10K for a free $10. And guess what?
What?
We'll see you next Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Ready, set,